is national organizer of the New Patriotic Party. Nana B, welcome to Eyewitness News.
Mario, thank you very much for having me.
Your former minister is not happy with you. He said you and your colleagues in the executive want to be re-elected, so you decided to go for this bottom-up approach, and that you are being supported by what he calls a spineless national council. Very scathing attacks on your organization, saying that what you are doing will just spell doom for the NPP further.
Mario, thank you once again and good evening. I will not be provoked in unleashing maybe similar scathing attacks and then also maybe unfortunate words, unsavory comments on the respected Professor Frimpong Boateng. I will not do so. What I will say is that the article he's written clearly is unsubstantiated. It is baseless. It is false. I'm beginning to think that it's maliciously written to achieve a certain purpose. Why do I say so? In the opening paragraph of the article, it makes this comment that we did not put together a team to really go into what happened. Look, we had a team. It was put together by National Council. National Council is the second highest decision-making body of the party. It was headed by the respected former Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Boakye. They did a very diligent work, very detailed work. In fact, they traveled to all the 276 constituencies, spoke to different people, various people, major stakeholders. They visited stalwarts in the party, and they presented the report. First of all, it is not part of the party's principles to release internal reports, especially when we've put together a committee to look into what really caused our defeat. So, and over the years, we've never done that. I've been national youth organizer, I've been national organizer. We had the Honorable Safomafu committee. We never put out the report. In fact, before, we've even had the Humans committee. We never put out a report. It is an internal document. However, you see that the party will be following through the recommendations very well. So we don't make it public. So those comments made by Professor Frimpong Boateng, very, very, very unfortunate. Second point is that we have not done anything untoward. Look, everything we have done, and we have not done any top-down approach. There's absolutely nothing like that. Maybe if he had sought for some clarification or some education on what went on, I'm not sure that he would have written this article. The reason why I'm saying so is that the presidential primaries, which is happening on the 31st of January 2026, is purely constitutional. The party's constitution under Article 13 is so clear that when the party is in opposition, we should elect our flag bearer not later than 2 years before the elections. Right, so we are within that period. Now, after Professor Boakye presented its report, there was also a Frank Davis report, because the report, when it was submitted to National Council, triggered another committee to look into our constitution, because some of the recommendations clearly will require that we go through constitutional amendment. So we again put together a committee, that is the Frank Davis Committee. The Frank Davis Committee also presented their report to National Council, and profoundly, one of the major issues that came up was the election of our flag bearer, and why it has been a major problem for the party. The last electionary cycle, Umaru, we spent 3 years conducting internal elections, meaning we spent 3 years harboring, infighting, misunderstanding, because every election will come with its own misunderstanding, problems here and there. We spent 3 years out of the 4 years on internal elections, and most of these elections are also connected to the presidential elections. So in the wisdom of the Constitutional Amendment Committee, they said that the many people they spoke to said that we need to have the presidential primaries early so that we will have a leader, presidential candidate, who would unite the entire party behind him so that we can secure victory in 2020. And the unfortunate loss, look, we've never experienced such a loss before, and it's so clear. And sometimes difficult situation would have to come up with some, deep and very detailed solutions to combat such problems. So we've never done anything unconstitutional. So the Article 13, we never touched it. In fact, in the wisdom of the Amendment Committee, they said that, in fact, Article 13 gives National Council the power, the authority to determine the date. That is well within the confines of the Constitution. And that is what the party did. We've never done, indeed we went for a national conference, because conference is the only body mandated to amend or to approve any form of amendment in our Constitution. And you recall that in July we had our conference, and conference also approved the many amendment proposals we put before. Some they rejected, others they approved. And that is why we are here today. Look, the party is well structured, and as we speak, we have a formidable elections committee that is headed by, again, the respected Joe Sewushu. Before, we had a vetting committee that was headed by Dr. Adokufo. So we've had a lot of respected, experienced, high-profile personalities in the party manning these processes. Let me also state that the point he makes about some people or a group of persons hatching a certain agenda to rig the elections for one particular kind, this is false. And again, I'm not expecting this to come from the good professor. This is so false. Look, we have these two bodies, and so far, they've been very transparent with everybody. Nobody can rig these elections. Nobody can rig these elections. They've been so transparent with their dealings. I've even received a letter to be part of a meeting this week where the elections committee will be meeting the presidential candidates. Okay. They will be voicing out their concerns, and they've been having interactions with them constant. Mm-hmm. Nobody can rig this election. So I am surprised. And you see, it will be unfortunate for such comment, especially where we are, because we've gone through all of this. Yes, there will be some argument as when we started this. There's absolutely nothing like top-down approach in this. What we have done is to have the presidential primaries on 31st. Okay. Afterwards, we will do our polling station elections, our constituency elections, our regional elections, our national elections. We are not going to do the presidential elections. Okay. Then we are going to do the national executive elections, the regional elections, the constituency before we come to polling.
Thank you, Nana.
No.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking to us. That's Henry Nana
Thank you very much, Omar.
He's national organizer of the New Patriotic Party. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 CTFM. Let's go to the presidency now. The Chief Justice has been sworn in today.